Ange deserves a gold statue for winning the Europa League and bringing Champions League football back to Tottenham Hotspur. I said it. I had my neuralizer out like Will Smith in Men in Black. I had my seatbelt on and I was ready for another season. But brother, with a 46% win ratio since we hired him, he could have been married to Daniel Levy's sister and he still would have sacked him. Ange Postecoglou has been sacked by Tottenham Hotspur, and I told all you man fam, you man, I'll be like, oh, X, but he's won the Europa League, he's staying. No, bro, no, man really confuse fan base to business, bro. As a fan, yes, I said I'm Ange in. I want him to stay. The man won a trophy. I ain't seen a trophy. I said I wanted him gone, whether he won a trophy or not earlier in the season, but I never thought he could do it. Once the man won that trophy, everything changed for me. I wasn't looking to the future. I've been living life, you know, them way there. I said my seatbelt's on, you know what I mean? And let's see what happens in the season. But I knew in the back of my mind he was getting sacked. I knew it.
I know there's a lot of Spurs fans who are peed off right now. There's a lot of emotion. But for me personally, you know where I'm going with this? I think the writing was on the wall. Don't get it twisted. I think Ange is a legend.
To be honest with you, I had a bit of time to kind of digest this because as the news broke, I was on the way to the gym and I was like, I could do a video right this second, but I don't think I'll do it justice. First off, I want a massive thank you to Ange Postecoglou. After 17 years, after only witnessing one trophy my whole entire life, to have two, to remember it, to be in the streets, to see the bus parade, to witness us bringing home the glory back to White Hart Lane is something I will never, ever, ever forget. And that's all down to Ange Postecoglou and the way that he conducted himself and the team in that Europa League fixtures as they came in.
Ange gave me the best night of my life as a Spurs fan. Juan de Ramos was second in giving me the best night of my life because they won trophies. He said he'd win something in his second year, or he always wins something in his second year. And you know what? He will still ride off into his next job and go, I still win things in my second year. I would say on this, he will not have a shortage of clubs that are lining him up. He won't. Premier League clubs will be lining him up for next season. Ange can't do it in the Premier League. See first season. Ange doesn't adapt. See the Europa League run. It's constant berating and constant verbal abuse coming out from in this fan base. And look, if you're happy that he's been sacked, kudos.
I'm a little emotional. You know, like when you and I talked, I was like, you know what, Ange's gotta go. He's not the guy. But now I feel a bit sad, kind of the way it played out. I'm more fuming about potential options. You know, Frank, Silva, what are we doing here? Like, where we want to become a mid-table club, like we want to compete for 6th and 5th. The club, Levy has some nerves with that statement that they released talking about competing on all fronts. Who was the last manager to compete on all fronts? How about giving us some players?
On the flip side, obviously, something had to be done. Obviously, losing 22 Premier League games, our worst ever points in the league in entire history. It was something that needed to be addressed. And it looks like that's why Tottenham have come to this conclusion to get rid. Obviously, that league kind of performance, regardless of injuries, we never really changed our style of play. And many were saying that Ange has been found out. Obviously, for me, if you have been on the channel, you have watched any of my videos, you know that I kind of lost my head in February when he kind of cupped his ears to the fans. But you know what? Hindsight is a beautiful thing. We're now sat here, European champions. And it was a difficult decision to sack him. I think I can kind of see both.
Well, hey, what a pickle, eh? What a pickle. Ange has been sacked. Season 3 cancelled. I would have liked to have seen what would happen next, but that ain't going to happen. I don't think it's the right decision, of course. Obviously, I'm disappointed. But, you know, life goes on. Dust yourself off. We ain't got a manager, though. Who's their manager? We need a manager. But look, I mean, I guess it was just the cost was too high to the club, wasn't it? The cost of success in Europa League, or whatever were, our methods were, injuries, bad league form. Club didn't want to do it. What are you going to do, eh?
Ange deserves a gold statue for winning the Europa League and bringing Champions League football back to Tottenham Hotspur. I said it. I had my neuralizer out like Will Smith in Men in Black. I had my seatbelt on and I was ready for another season. But brother, with a 46% win ratio since we hired him, he could have been married to Daniel Levy's sister and he still would have sacked him. These owners have been around longer than YouTube. Brother, they sacked more man than Bonnie Blue, fam. 47 wins, 39 losses, and 15 draws. 78 points from 66 games. I can't lie. The beatings that we have held, make the Jackson 5 look like they were living the sweet life of Zach and Cody, fam.
My instinct, I said this week, I thought that Tottenham Hotspur would try and bury it last thing on Friday when everyone is leaving work or finishing their work to go out for the weekend. And then you would think Monday morning at the latest will be the replacement announcement, but probably before. They have to have been talking to all of the other managers this week that they were talking about, and all the reports, all of the odds have come in on Thomas Frank, the manager of Brentford, being the next manager of Spurs. Now, I have to say, I personally find that quite an underwhelming appointment if it is going to be Thomas Frank. To me, and I sent a message earlier to a friend of mine about this, to Spurs Talk Show, actually. I said it feels quite Nuno-esque, but I am willing to be proven wrong by Thomas Frank, but we don't have anything official yet in terms of who's going to be next. It is all just pouring out now that that big Ange Postecoglou is leaving the club.
What I am really annoyed about though is the fact that you could see those players wanted to give everything for Ange. Yes, you could argue in the Premier League that wasn't so, but in that Europa League run, players were giving it all, and I think players were slowly feeding into this thing of, yes, we can win things. Ange has made winners in that team now. You couldn't have said that last season, the season before, the season before that. So he's managed to come in and do that. Like I said, it's a tough one to swallow because I really, really wanted to see what Series 3 was going to bring after he dropped that kind of bombshell. Obviously, Series 3 is better than Series 2. He obviously had that one-liner of, I win things in my second season, mate. He went and did that.
To take us to a European final and get us over that line and, getting that Champions League spot, I am very, very disappointed, if I'm honest. And am I surprised? Probably not. It's what the club do next really does worry me because, we've got Champions League football. And if I can say that, I feel like it's going to put more and more pressure on the board now to deliver because the expectations are even higher and they will need to invest heavily in the transfer market. But I feel like if they would have given Ange, more depth in this squad, we would have been better in that league position. But, to sack a manager after winning a trophy for us, to get us Champions League football, it's very, very disappointing.
And I have to say, how much pressure is on whoever replaces big Ange Postecoglou? So much pressure straight away. And if it starts the way it did with Nuno, and I don't mean Nuno's first 3 games that he won all 1-0, but if it starts after that way, goes on a bad run, this next manager is not going to have a lot of support from the fans early on in his tenureship, I don't think, because of what Ange did in his last game for Spurs. I have to say, listen, and I'll put my hands up. I've been the first to say that Ange is in trouble for certainly for this season, because we concede the same goal all the time and he didn't seem able to change his tactics. However, he did evolve in the Europa League. And as a result, I thought having won the Europa League via evolution, that he deserved the chance to do what he said in terms of the third season being better than the second.
I'm not going to pretend that I didn't want this man sacked way before he even reached the Europa League final. But I didn't think he could do it, but he did it. This was the worst season of my life. And one day in Bilbao turned it to the best season. I'm not even going to lie. As a fan, we're on cloud 9. But as a business, it ain't good enough. I ain't seen these owners smile once, bruv. Big man ting. There's more chance of you seeing Daniel Levy getting his hair cut in Harlesden than smiling smiling on the camera. So I knew they'd sack him. My thing is, he could have been sacked ages ago. The fans had enough. It even looked like the players had enough. But you kept him. You kept him. He won the trophy, and then you sack him, blood. It's like man's trying to win Villain of the Year like Niche Panesar in EastEnders, bruv.